Good evening and welcome to episode 3 of Keep the Vision. I'm joined tonight by my co-host, as ever, William O'Donnell. How are you, William?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Alan. Hi, everybody, for listening to the first couple of episodes. If anybody's listening for the first time, this is episode 3. And as me and Alan have mentioned before, it's a podcast based in personal development with a goal to inspire others to become the best you can be. So we like to produce content to inspire you all, and hopefully you enjoy the episode tonight.
Fantastic, William. Um, Similar to after episode 1, we got lots of good feedback after episode 2. Getting those personal messages in my inbox is very pleasing, and I'm sure it's the same for you too.
Yeah, it's thanks for family and friends for listening in. I mean, it's we're going to grow this, and just hopefully there's people out there that's going to just get a lot of value from this and get inspired. Because I think that one of the reasons me and Alan have created this as a goal for ourselves is obviously I've touched on this before, but over the last year, it's challenging times to say the least. So if you've got some access to a podcast that's going to help you and just get something to listen to in the car. That's what I do. I'm a big lover of podcasts, or just around the house when you're cooking and stuff. Just listen to what we're saying. As we say, it's all about the content. So we've got some great things we're going to talk about tonight. So we're just looking forward to it, and we'll keep this going. And me and Alan come from sort of, Glasgow, Edinburgh, don't we, Alan? We'd like to get together to do this in the same room at some point, hopefully soon.
Yep.
We've basically got the same sort of passion and the same sort of rapport to sort of have a great podcast, and basically just sometimes you do this and you don't realise the benefit you get from it, Alan, is that right? And then until you listen to it back, because there's a lot of things that you've spoke about previously and then I've spoke about and go, oh, you listen to it back and then you think to yourself, oh, that's something I need to think about. So as well as helping others, it's helping us ourselves, is that right?
I couldn't agree more. What I find is when it comes to getting the recording, ready for YouTube, like you say, we've got kind of a bullet list that we work from each episode, but yet on listening back or watching back on the content, it's like, oh yeah, that was a really good point that we
Mm-hmm.
raised, that we discussed, and likewise again. So the what we do is we edit the footage from the Zoom recording, check that's all right, and then put that out on the YouTube, and then there's the audio side of things that we then get ready to put on to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. So excellent. Yeah, like I say, I get the chance to listen to it 2 or 3 times whilst editing, the recording, and it's great just to hear what we've discussed kind of being reinforced. And then
Yeah.
after all that, I still listen to it in the car. It's almost like I don't want to say quality control, but I kind of like to be reassured that the message that we're getting out there is kind of pertinent and valid, So we've both said previously, we're not experts in this field, but we're passionate about it, absolutely passionate about it. And if there's anything that we have learnt from our study of personal development and we want to share it, it's not something, you keep to yourself. It's for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely, Alan. Couldn't put it any better myself there. Yeah, that's it. I mean, you say, like, you made the point there, is you listen to it back, and I think it reinforces the sort of things in your mind. Sometimes I used to think that I wasn't a great listener, but then I think sometimes when you listen to podcasts, you do need to keep listening to them to kind of take in.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't take it all in at once. So bury your head into a podcast. Hopefully, the listeners are really enjoying this and getting some great value out of it, as I've mentioned. And just keep listening, and you'll find something, little segment I've said or Alan, and then just roll with an idea. We talked about the Wheel of Life last week. which is a great exercise if you want to go back onto that episode. And we'll give you some other things that we do regarding habits and things like that, because we feel that's massively important to create great habits in your life. Maybe that's something we could start off with tonight then, Alan, just regarding building great habits into your life.
Absolutely, William. Can I just bat that right back at you? What great habits have you created to make you successful in both life and business?
Oh, right, okay. I think one of the best habits you can create in your life is reading, because if you read and learn about something, you can kind of find the solution for most problems out there. Because if you want to become great at hosting a podcast, you can read and learn about that. If you want to get into open a new business, you can read and learn about that. I'm not saying it's as simple as that, just reading and learning. We've talked about this before about taking the action, but if you're sort of learning every day, then your mind has got to consolidate that new learning. So if you're reading, you're opening your mind up to new possibilities. So I feel as if sometimes when I don't know, we all live busy lives. Sometimes people maybe say, "Oh, I've not got time to sit down and read a book," but I think that's a bit of a sort of poor excuse. Or everybody can read like 10 chapters a book a day, or if you're sort of take a wee break for the TV. But I think like audiobooks are a big thing for me. If you're on the move like myself and you're out in the car a lot, then I think just bury your head into an audiobook. So my habits would be, I'd say, like sort of reading and listening to audiobooks. I feel makes a massive difference to my sort of well-being, makes a massive difference to my mindset, because I feel as if when I'm sort of struggling mentally, because as I say, we're all learning here, we're all human, so we feel different emotions every day. I just bury my head into like a podcast or an audiobook or a book, and then all of a sudden I just feel as if my mind shifts and goes in a different direction. So it's a bit of self-awareness. I think you go just listen to your own emotions. I think sometimes you become emotionally intelligent. So reading and the audiobooks, possibly just other important things is obviously having the right diet. I know you'll maybe touch on that, Alan. I know it's quite incredible some of the diets you've done, the changes you've made to your life. I'll let you touch on that. So just having a level of exercise, I think that's been the challenging thing over the lockdown. I think a lot of people are not been going to the gym as much and they've put on weight. So I'm guilty, sort of indulging in food a wee bit more, sort of thing. But it's that is what it is. I mean, I think you just listen to what your body's saying. So you know yourself when you need to sort of exercise more than you know you should, or eat the right thing. But I think writing is another great habit as well, because I feel as if I like to write down ideas, and sometimes I'm quite creative in my thoughts at times. So sometimes if I don't write them down, I'll forget about it. So I like journaling, just having a journal and just writing ideas down. I think just having a good morning routine as well. I know you'll touch a bit more in your morning routine is quite drilled, Alan. So you can go into a bit more detail on that. And yeah, so just I've touched the main ones there, but there's obviously other great habits. Just practicing gratitude, massively important. To be grateful, but you can make that as a habit. You can practice that daily. So yeah, that's some of my great habits. What about yourself, Alan?
Yep. All of those sound very familiar to me. Thanks for sharing that, William. And I think you touched on there, like developing our emotional intelligence, because I think that's key to being successful with being consistent with our habits. So I know through my daily practice of developing habits, if you go through a phase where you're consistent with them, there's not so many troughs, there's more peaks kind of thing in your day, But to be honest, this past year, I probably haven't been as consistent as I'd like to be. And what I've learned is not to beat myself up about that. It is what it is. And you can get up the next day and you just push on. Simple as that,
Yeah.
But yeah, being consistent for me has probably been probably the challenge for me in the past year. However, I feel that I just feel that there's kind of been a slow shift in the last month or two. So I'm feeling good about going forward. And you mentioned there about journaling. I was recently gifted the 6 minute diary, and I'm loving it. Basically, you take 3 minutes out in the morning when you get up to write down, what is you're grateful for. You pick a quote to kind of kickstart your day, and you also write down what's going to make my day great. So already, you've set yourself a couple of challenges. So that could be something as I'm going to walk 5 or 10K, I'm going to drink more water today, whatever. And it just switches something on inside of you that, it's almost like you've been accountable to yourself. Because at the end of the day, when you take 3 minutes at bedtime, it's like, what were what were three things that I experienced today that were great? What could I have done better? And that's not about beating yourself up. It's about maybe missing opportunities, to speak to a neighbor, maybe make more effort to speak to someone. But I'm loving that journaling aspect. Um, as I said, there's a gratitude part in that, and that's always good to start your day off with too. But consistency probably for me is the thing that I've recognised most. I would say that's what I found most that I've probably been challenged with in this past year, being consistent.
Yeah, consistency and discipline, as you say. I think
Aye.
that's the big things. I think it's something that I learned was it's not about doing 2,000 things well. It's about doing sort of 5 things well 2,000 times. So it's like, if you can get sort of 5 or 6 things that you do on a daily basis that become, subconsciously, like brushing your teeth or tying your shoelaces or flicking a kettle on, these things that you do without thinking about it. If you can create habits that are life-changing habits that are like that are just, it's just like automatic. So I think that's key. I think, and then like you said, maybe you need to have that discipline to maybe do it for sort of maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden after that, you don't need the discipline. It's just automatic, like doing a meditation or journaling gratitude, as you say. But no, that book sounds fantastic. I'll need to maybe look into getting that. Actually, that's a great tip. That because I know you've talked about this in previous episodes, Alan. It's a sort of, you need to start your day in the right way, sort of thing. It's if you don't, then all of a sudden you're rushing out the door, jumping in your car, and all of a sudden you're not prepared, and then all of a sudden you're saying you're trying to race through traffic and you're not feeling your best. So you've got to, it's not about taking life too seriously. It's about, taking sort of responsibility for your day and how you manage your emotions. Because if you don't take control of these things, then all of a sudden you're just all over the place. And, and we see it in every walk of life. It was, I'll just quickly tell you a story about this. There was a guy that was, when I was working and I was parked on the side of the road, and I could just tell the guy was having a bad day. He was sort of rattling on and shouting about something, and then he's come out and he said something to me, and it was just like, why you parked there? You're too near where my car is. I was parked perfectly in a public road, Alan, and he started screaming and shouting at me. But a lot of people would have reacted to that. So I feel as if I had to just stop for a wee minute and go, look, the guy's having a bad day here. I can't allow myself to sort of get in an argument with this guy. I think I've just got to, just try and talk to him. And within a couple of minutes, I calmed him down, but I was just trying to say, look, there's no problem here. You're trying to create a problem out of nothing. So as I say, I think that guy could have started his day better, So as I say, I think that's what I've learned. I think not to react to situations like that, because where does it get you, sort of thing. The guy, it's easy to take these things personally, isn't it? So I think just making a little example there about something that, just about a crazy situation, but I think it's the key to start your day the right way. Otherwise, that can happen. You're just all over the place. I mean, and I was maybe like that when I was a bit younger, to be honest. I didn't take the time to start my day right, and have the right mindset, because I think the biggest thing with this podcast and what we've done, Alan, is it is all mindset. Because if you can get your mindset right, then it's you can achieve great things and you can have a great life, and that's basically the bottom line, I think. So no, it's the habit. Get back to the habit thing. I know you've done. What's your sort of daily habit um, routine then, Alan? Apart from the journaling, is there certain other things you do, or?
Yeah, I wanted to touch on, like when you're going to bed at night, you might have great plans for the following day. I'm going to do this, going to do that, and then you wake up the next day, you're maybe not feeling like it. You're just not feeling like it. But I think what the important thing is, and I know that you mentioned this in episode 1, it's about taking action,
Mm-hmm.
and taking some sort of action is better than no action at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a saying, imperfect action is better than no action. So
Mm-hmm.
say you wanted to get up in the morning and you're just not feeling like, going for the walk that you promised yourself, just dig deep and
Yeah.
just get out the door. And it doesn't have to be 10K, it can just be 5K. But also go out with a purpose. So make a point of everybody you pass, say good morning or good afternoon, Um,
Mm-hmm.
even if the person doesn't look like they're up for that, just say good morning to them anyway.
Yeah.
You just don't know how that might just shift their day. Because when someone says that to you, it's like, whoa, almost like you're taken aback and it makes you feel good. It's quite a simple act, but it can have quite a huge effect. But to get back to your question, so I touched on that I've maybe not been consistent with this, but I like to um, get up and get showered, and then I make a point of just doing a simple meditation, like a head to toe, like relaxation, and do that, and it takes you into a different mind space altogether, and from there, think about what you've got planned that day. And I guess at this moment in time, my mind is going back to kind of what we refer to as normal times. So you've got work to do, but it's quite nice to plan that day ahead of you. And then I feel that kind of grounds me.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I'll do a bit of exercise. So whether that is going out on a fairly decent walk, or if it's at home and just working with some free weights, just getting moving. And I know from experience, sometimes I look at those weights and think, I'm just not having this today. But you make the effort, you pick them up, and once you just do that and get started, that's you. You've just crossed that barrier that you've created for yourself. So I know for a fact that that puts me on a high, and it's done.
Mm-hmm.
It's done. It's not something you're going to say, if I do it later, like I'll do that at lunchtime, I'll do that after work. It never gets done. And then you feel
Yeah.
guilty about it later on and
Yeah.
all the
That's
rest
it.
of it. So yeah, it's important to, I think it's important to try to cover a system, if you like, in the morning, but get get some of it done anyway.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't manage it all, doesn't matter. Get something done, and then the next day, what I found is that that process gets a little bit easier, and then you do it the next day, it
Mm-hmm.
gets a bit easier, and it becomes accumulative, and you start to feel the benefits of it, and then you just feel the inertia building up. So I've been there where it's been a slow start, slow burn, and then it picks up momentum, and
Yeah.
then you find just other things in your life start to flow a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
You notice those little moments of serendipity, opportunities, what we think are chance meetings. And I think that's all about, it's like what you do today will improve your tomorrow, you know? So,
Yeah, that's great, Alan, what you said there. I think it's so true. As I think what you said, it kind of struck a chord with me there, because I think something I was actually one of my friends mentioned earlier on, when I was talking to him. He says, just turn up every day. He said that
Yep.
was the best advice he'd have. Just turn up every day.
Yep.
Just do it, and that's it. Sometimes, like we're only human. There's some days that you just don't feel your best,
Yep.
but if you just get on with it, or just that's the key, because I think you can obviously just get into a rut if you just start to think, oh no, I'll put this off, I'll put this off. All of a sudden, you're just in this rut, and then try to dig your way out of it. It's just, it can be horrific for some people. But I think that's it. Just show up every day, even if you don't feel like it. As I say, simple things like you see, just grabbing a couple of weights in the house, or just doing press ups or sit ups,
Yeah.
or just get out for a walk for half an hour, something like that. You'd be amazed the thoughts that you have when you exercise, don't you? Because it triggers new possibilities. I feel my best when I'm actually running or walking.
Yeah.
I'm just out walking with the wife and my son. It's just amazing. And you're just getting that fresh air release. And then, you know, when I run, I tend to have brilliant thoughts. I mean,
Mm.
it's I like my music and stuff. So, I just, something will just click in my mind. So that's it. Just show up every day. And I think what I heard recently as well was a great quote. I know we've done some quotes last week, but I'll touch on this one. It's discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. So that's a really good one. I think it was Jim Rohn that said that. So we're talking about habits again, and just creating that discipline. So like you, Alan, you're quite drilled in the morning. Your shower, your meditation, your journal, everything else. Bang, you're on it every day. You've got this great discipline. But I think it takes 21 days. A psychologist says that to break an old habit or to create a new one. So I think that when people are trying to stop smoking or stuff like that, I think people would say build up to like 21 days or 30 days or whatever. You're going to stop in that day. Don't just go cold turkey. You're going to stop smoking tomorrow. It's like set yourself a goal to stop at that date. And then people have got that sort of target, and then it's amazing how people cut down and then eventually stop before the actual target date. So just little things that I've learned, just a bit of insight for anybody listening regarding that, that want to break a bad habit that's just so destructive, like smoking or whatever. Or just anything that you feel is quite destructive. But no, I think habits are a great thing. We could talk all night about it, I suppose, but it's just something to develop into your life, like maybe 4 or 5 key habits that are just fundamental, important for your well-being.
Yeah.
So absolutely. So yeah, that was great. I really enjoyed that chat on that.
Oh, excellent, William. Thank you. What what would you say, William? I'm aware that you've been very successful in business, and I'm certainly working towards that. What would you say were the key elements in your life, building that success up in your business?
Oh, good question. To be successful in business, I think it stems back to who you become. I think it's a lot of this to do with your character. I mean, see my job, Alan, it's not rocket science, right? To actually physically do my job, but to be successful in business, you've got to be a great person, I think. I think you've got to work in your character, and I think who you become. So I think I've got a lot of, when it comes to sort of customer care, I've got some sort of ideas of how I should develop myself to speak to customers in the right manner. And I
Yeah.
know you do the same with your photography business.
Yeah.
So I think it's. I know we touched on this the last time about characteristics of success, and I think it's just pretty much the same when it comes to business. I think just building up your character to be a good person, and that provides a good service. Provide a good service,
Yeah.
and do your best. I mean, because sometimes it's like I can be quite critical of myself. I mean, you want to do the best that you possibly can, but sometimes there's a limit to what I do. There's only so much I can do in certain things. So I think it's important to build up a rapport with customers and have an understanding and have and speak to them. As if you know them in a sense. I think that's quite key, and to be a people person. So for me, I know every business is different, but I think cause mine's is quite hands-on with customers. I think that's key. To have a good attitude, just all the fundamental important things. Have a good attitude, have a good character, have a good personality. So that would be my main things. I know maybe slightly different for yourself, Alan, because you still deal with customers, but there's a lot of things that that you do behind the scenes as well. So I just throw the same question back to yourself.
Yeah, I feel like I could just mirror your answer there. It's certainly about having good character, without a doubt. And I think this will also apply to you as well. Preparation, before each job you go to is key too.
Mm-hmm.
A client has, trusted you enough to hire you for your service, and I think that for me is what I've developed over the last couple of years. It's a service that we're providing, and it's an investment that that client is making in you. It's not a cost to them; it's an investment, and so that makes me feel proud of what I do. So I care about
Mm-hmm.
what I do,
Yeah.
and I think that's important because at the end of the day, we're in business and we're there to make a success. And for me, the best form of success is if you get a referral from that client for another job. That always gives me uh, great pleasure. But yeah, absolutely, character so important. Just being authentic as well.
That's it. I mean, if you've got a passion for it, sometimes it's half the battle. You're talking about success in business. I think if you're passionate about what you're doing, I think because sometimes it's so unbelievably hard that running a business, and I don't think people really truly understand. Because sometimes people say to me, "I work too hard," but I mean, I take that as a sort of compliment, because that's to have a great work ethic is a great sort of top behaviour, I would say. But I mean, I don't think I work harder than anybody else that's got a business, Alan, like yourself or anybody else. It's just what you've got to do to
Mhm.
make it a success. Sometimes you've got to do what you don't want to do. That's what I feel, and no, I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, like maybe just work like a weekend that you don't feel as if you want to work, but sometimes you've got to
Mhm.
fit a client in, or just sometimes do that wee bit extra at night time, or so I've made a lot of personal sacrifices. So I think that would be something that I would touch on regarding business. To be
Mhm.
successful in business, is you've got to make a lot of sacrifices. You've got to do the long hours. You've got to do um, sometimes work every day, and even when you're home, you're still working because you're like, you do what you do your photography. You probably do a lot of work at home when you're not on site and doing shoots and things like that. But for me, I've got sort of invoices to deal with, receipts, calls, bookings. So I think it's just you've got to be in it, and you've got to be really just common sense. You've just got to work so hard. So you've got to have a great work ethic. So that would be my key things. Like you have a great character, become a great person, and want to do it, and then just work hard, have a great work ethic, and be prepared to sort of make sacrifices. I think,
Yep.
because I used to play a lot of snooker and golf or other things, and sometimes you can't do it. You can't have the sort of the fun and freedom to do that at certain times. You've got to make time, so time management becomes key. So that
Mhm.
would be my main thing, Alan. Yeah, so I touch on the sort of the the fact that the sacrifices you've got to make.
Yep. Brilliant, William. Thank you for that. So I'm sure other podcasters work from a bullet list just like us. It's just not a unique idea that we've come up with. So next on the agenda tonight is why power and not willpower.
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
was your thinking behind that, William?
Oh, it's something so massively, massively important to me, because or something massively, massively important that I've learned. Because sometimes I always felt like I lacked willpower with certain things, and then I
Mhm.
thought, oh, that's just human nature. No, everybody's got the willpower, but it's actually finding why power. And I'll just go into this in a bit more detail for anybody that's listening that wants to really understand this. You need to know why you want to change. You need to have some kind of why. And what is your why? Is finding your why is critical, absolutely critical, I would say, because I'll maybe just make an example here. If you were wanting to sort of lose weight, why do you want to lose weight? Most people would maybe say, just say, as a parent, I want to lose weight so I can just run about the park with my kids. There you go. There you're finding your why. So I think that's one of the most important things that when people want to make massive change in their life. So if it is like that scenario, I want to lose weight, or I want to change career, I want to just get out of a doomed relationship or whatever. There's so many things that people want to change about themselves, and they think that they lack willpower to change it. So I think just identifying your why is just massively important. So, maybe a bit of an example into my life. I mean, I think for me, it was like when I was trying to find, like, I'll go a bit deeper here into like finding like love and finding like marriage, and why do I want to do this? I want to have a life of abundance. I want to become a dad. I want to, you know, it's like you need to find why you want to do things, and then getting that sort of identity for yourself. So I think it's so important, I think,
Yep.
to actually to know why you want to do things. So more than because
Yep.
willpower is sort of it can come and go. It's like a bit more motivation, Alan, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
it's, and we touched on this about, you need clarity. It's not that you lack motivation, you lack clarity. I know we've touched on that before, but it's the same with motivation. But anything that you sort of resonated with yourself there with what I said about the why power situation?
Yeah. Well, William, I've not heard that comparison before. Why power, not willpower, and I absolutely think that's fantastic. I've genuinely not heard that before, and I'm a member of a couple of personal development groups, and recently, in one of those groups, we were set a goal, and we spoke about when you have a goal, it's sometimes nice to share that goal, because not only is there a little bit of accountability in that, but you also get support when you maybe struggling a little bit with that goal. And in the first couple of meetings I had with my buddy, if you like, I was talking about I was struggling with. I had initially said that my word for 2021 was consistency, but then I
Mm-hmm.
found that that wasn't the case. It was my will. And so it was okay for me to turn up at the online meetings and say to people what I was going to do. But saying something and doing something are obviously two different things. And I found that I was struggling a bit to keep to my word. So I recognise that as my willpower,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just being honest with you. So it was something I observed again. I've been good at beating myself up in the past, but I don't do that anymore. So I recognise that, and but just hearing you tonight saying why power, it's like wow. So the goal that I had was to I used to run regularly 5-6 years ago, and then I've just kind of let that slip. But I'm really keen to build back up to 10K again, and I've been floating between 5 and 7.5K the past couple of months, but not getting much further than that. And instead of battling with willpower, I'm actually going to apply why power. And it's just simple. Why do I want to, run that distance again? And it's because it just makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
It helps me control my weight without really noticing that because I enjoy the running anyway. But one of the benefits of that, apart from how it does great things for your mind, the feel good chemicals that are released, it's just about just feeling good. And like I say, it helps control weight. And I'm, I think that's been quite a shift. Just you bringing that up tonight, William. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, brilliant, Alan. And I just want to say a massive credit to yourself. Know that we're, was going to say sort of displaying your age here, but I mean, I know there's a lot of the people that, ages with yourself, and then and they're sort of, they would never go out and run in a million years. It's like, they're sort of, they would never do it. I mean, so like you say, age is only a number, and you're absolute credit to yourself, Alan. Everything you're doing, it, sort of thing. Sort of close to retirement age or whatever. I know you're a bit off that, but I mean, as I say, you're out running and doing things. You're absolutely amazing what you're doing. But no, I'm glad that you got some sort of insight out of that. Like, why power? You say your why is it makes you feel good. So that's like anything you do. I think it's the reason I wanted to make the point of doing the why power. One of the points tonight was because I think everybody, the people that we want to attract to this podcast, is the ones that people that want to make that big change, that have had maybe a destructive habit, or they want to change to get out of a rut. So that's key for me, for people to kind of just get some sort of understanding from that, because it helped me massively to understand your why. So and I'm still learning. I don't want people to listen to me and think I've got all this figured out. I think I'm 40 years of age and I'm still trying to evolve my life into different things. I'm trying to do other things, so I'm constantly asking myself questions. I'm constantly searching about, asking myself why. Not that I'll ever lose myself in moments, or I'm very self-aware, and I live in the moment, but I'm always asking myself about why I want to do certain things, and then try to find the answer for that. So I'm very philosophical, as you could probably imagine, about things like this, in life in general. So I think that's another great thing to, I know I'm going off on one here, but just to develop a philosophy in life is, whether it is for you, just to come back to the sort of creating good values, like, we're saying about the characteristics of success and characteristics in business, etc. Just becoming somebody that you're proud of. I think that's something that's a great quote. Be a person that you're proud of. And if you feel as if you're working towards that, you're doing amazing in life. If that is your mindset, if you're actually thinking like that, then you're on a great journey. So as I say, that's what happens with personal development, Alan, isn't it? If you do Mindstore or do anything else, I feel as if you're in a life's journey. You dip into other things, like I've done NLP, or I've dipped my toe into sort of hypnotherapy. I know some of the other guys have. I know you've done some of the Bob Proctor stuff. You can touch on that if you want. How influenced you've been listening to him.
Yeah, I've been aware of Bob Proctor's work since I started to practice personal development, maybe about, what we're talking about, 15, 16 years ago now. Well, I guess I discovered it a little much longer than that, but practicing it 15, 16 years. And I had the very good fortune of being on his 5-day webinar last week, The Keys to Successful Living. And I know that Bob Proctor has an association with Sai seminars, which are very close to my heart. And it's not as if we're looking for authentication from the groups that we work with, William, but I think it does help. And so the 5-day event that Bob Proctor held online last week, it was absolute gold. And I just want to summarize it quickly and say that everything that he spoke about, the main takeaway from that was he spoke about paradigms, our belief systems, and how they're inbuilt at birth, and how that, depending on our circumstances at birth, that can, if we don't change things, determine our life's path, if you like. So I feel very fortunate that I've kind of discovered personal development, because that'll take me on a route where I can, think about a goal that I'd like to achieve and work towards it. So, yeah, I think, I'm sure that people in the past have paid thousands of pounds for what Bob Proctor revealed online last week. So I feel very humble that I picked up on that. Absolute gold. Absolute gold.
It's no, listen. It's Bob Proctor, I think he was one of the stars of The Secret. And for anybody listening that's no watched The Secret, it's a documentary about the main thing about it is the law of attraction. And Bob, he spoke about, everything you're attracting into your life, it's happening through the thoughts and the images you're holding in your mind. And obviously, we've got this podcast called Keep the Vision. So a little bit of insight for anybody: you've got to have the images in your mind and the thoughts that's in your mind is shaping how your life is happening. And maybe you don't understand that, or you don't think about that on a daily basis, but it's so true. I mean, it's like you've got to have the right thoughts, because thoughts become things. So that's Bob Proctor was one of the stars of The Secret, and he spoke specifically about that point. And I remember, Alan, watching that when I was maybe about, I don't know, in my 20s anyway. And then I thought to myself, oh, wow, nobody's ever taught me that. Nobody's ever
Mhm.
explained that to me before. Nobody's ever put that together like that.
Yep.
I've never really understood that in a way. And then I started going a wee bit deeper into like sort of, like Mindstone and other things. And something else Bob Proctor said, Alan, as well, is he said that he used to go to seminars like the we went to Mindstone, you went to Whispering with Giants and everything else. He was done the same thing in his early part
Oh,
of his
yep.
life. But what
Absolutely.
he done was he said that a lot of people go to actually to look for answers, I think, because what is out there to make them more successful. But then what he learned was, you kind of just basically you're learning about yourself, sort of thing. So it's like you actually, the way he describes it is a lot of people don't understand who they are.
Mhm. Yep.
And I'm like, oh my God, that's something to say. So who are you?
Yep.
Right? Okay, my name's William, but that's not who you are. Your name's Alan. That's not who you are.
Yeah.
That's names that were given to you. Who actually are you? And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, that's deep. So then, he talks about how we're spiritual human beings and we've got an intellect, and he goes really deeply into that. And I started to get really deep with that, actually. I don't know what you've done in this course, but I think that's something that, it's an ongoing journey in your life to figure yourself out and figure out exactly, what makes you
Yeah.
tick, and, what your purpose and your passion is. And when you start to figure these things out, um, or just understand yourself a bit more, why you act a certain way, or what, these are all these sort of habits, habitual ways that you've developed. It can be habits that are learned that can be unlearned, basically.
Mhm.
So, oh God, I could speak all night about this, but as I say, try to keep it brief. Just check Bob Proctor out online. A lot of great content. Was this an online course, Alan, or was it
It was.
something?
It was
Aye,
Bob. The other. He was talking from the studio
right.
out in America, and I was at an hour, like 5 hours with Bob Proctor. Honestly, it was just like absolute gold. So I chose to watch the replays because there was so much content. It meant that watching it live, I would miss so much. So I watched the replay, which enabled me to stop the video, take notes. So one 1 hour videos were lasting about an hour and a half, but
Aye.
it was worth every second. And I mean, we're doing this podcast, and our aim is to cover obviously as much as we can in the course of time. But at the moment we're kind of skimming the surface. If we were to go
Yeah,
deep with one of those topics that we've mentioned since episode one, we'd be here all night. So it's a
yeah,
kind of we're kind of teasing the listeners just now, but honestly, it's what Bob gave away. I'm just repeating myself now, but people would have paid thousands for that in the past.
hmm
Absolutely.
hmm
So I'm so grateful that I've got a book of notes that he just gave away freely. Absolutely incredible.
yeah,
You touched on Bob's participation in The Secret and speaking about the law of attraction, but on day one he spoke about the law of vibration, and
hmm
that was something that I hadn't heard of before. I understand it totally where he was coming from, but it was interesting that he should start with that before the law of attraction. But by doing so, it made the law of attraction make more sense.
yeah,
And we're we've got our core work that we each of us do individually, but it doesn't stop us from referring to other fantastic material that we find in other books. So, with Bob talking about the law of vibration, that resonated with me. Excuse the pun. With the audio book that I'm listening to now on my walks, and that is Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joda Spencer.
Mm,
And again, he goes really deep, and he's got some great meditations there. So not only am I getting my kind of physical exercise when I'm out for my walk, but I'm also getting my kind of mental and spiritual exercise on that walk. So it's a triple
mhm,
whammy for me. I absolutely love it. So yeah, I'm kind of diversifying now, but that's what I got from Bob. And all week I've been absolutely buzzing,
mhm.
absolutely buzzing with it.
Yeah, that's a couple of great recommendations. As you say, all that content you've listened to with Bob, I mean, the people would spend a lot of money for. I think that's the incredible thing about the internet, Alan. I think you can just go into rabbit holes of sort of, information and or podcasts or I find myself flicking in between things all the time, and some recommendations for podcasts I'll give to people because, as you say, we're just trying to produce content to help other people, listen to what we're saying and other sources out there. So I'm quite into the high performance podcast just now, which
Okay.
is Jake Humphreys and a guy called Damien Hughes, who's a professor, psychologist. They do high performance podcast with he's the guy that runs BT Sports. He does the sort of all the English Premiership games and other things. They've mostly a lot of sports stars on it, but they've got Sir Chris Hoy, Stephen Hendry, Johnny Wilkinson, a lot of football players. Um, Entrepreneurs as well. So there's a lot of brilliant content, and so I've been listening to a lot of the podcasts in the car. Joe Rogan is a guy I listen to frequently. He's brilliant. Just such an incredible mind he's got,
Right.
and his podcasts are like he's up to episode like, sort of 3,000 or something. We're only at episode 3, Alan. We've got a bit of catching up to
Yeah.
the. But no, there's a lot of brilliant guys, especially guys that he's interviewed. So many I could tell you about, but I'll just keep it brief. So check him out. I know we'd said about a couple of book recommendations there. So a couple I would say is The Chimp Paradox. That's I done
Right.
a book recommendation on one of the guys for the Mindstore group, Davy Brawny. He got me into the Sunny Govan radio in Glasgow, and I done a book recommendation for The Chimp Paradox, Alan. That was
Mhm.
a book written by Steve Peters, who's a sports psychologist. He's worked with, talked about Sir Chris Hoy, Ronnie O'Sullivan, and just a lot of different sports stars and
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, etc. And it's like controlling the chimp in your brain, about your conscious and your subconscious mind, and understanding how that can work for you, and how it's worked against you, and how to sort of reverse that. So I done a book recommendation on that. It's a fantastic book for anybody to pick up. The Inner Game of Golf is another one for. I'm just going back into the sporting theme, but it's a sport psychologist as well, Timothy Galway, that wrote this book, and it was actually Jack Black from Mindstore that recommended it to me, Alan. So it was.
Okay.
He talked about it, and I think it was actually when he's. I think it was just in one of his actually courses. I've met Jack a few times, but he talked about it, and when Jack recommends something, you kind of you listen, So, sports psychologist, and a lot of similarities with sort of snooker that I play with golf. About the sort of back hit sort of pre-shot routine,
Mhm.
and just the psychology in sport. I really get a lot of benefit from that. So just we thought before we finish off, we'd do a couple of book recommendations. Anybody that wants to check anything like that out, it's made
Sounds good.
a difference to me.
Oh, sounds good. We spoke briefly before we came on air about possibly talking about book recommendations, and I was saying to William that if either of us were approached with what book would you recommend, we've obviously each got our own list of books that we could recommend. But I would say if you were to go into a bookshop under the self help, personal development book section. I believe now, anyway, that the right book for you at that time, depending on the vibration that you're giving off, will be drawn to you. I believe that. So obviously, we can recommend books on our podcasts, but anyone out there looking to kind of start this journey, just have fun with this. Have absolute fun. Don't take it seriously. If you know what I mean by that, just go in, look out that section in the bookshop, and just see what jumps out at you, and make a start at it. In episode 1, I referred to my first personal development book, which I got given as a Christmas present back in 1984. And it was a book called Illusions by Richard Bach, who wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And it was reading the intro to his book that kind of blew my mind. It was when he talks about, there was a piece in his intro to his book that resonated with me. And he talks about we magnetize into our lives whatever we hold in our thought, for instance. And that's what you were saying earlier, William, about thoughts are things. What we think about and dwell on, we bring into our life. If that is true, then somehow I have brought myself to this moment for a reason, and so have you. Perhaps it is no coincidence that you're holding this book. Perhaps there's something about these adventures that you came here to remember. I choose to think so. And I remember reading that and like lying down on my bedroom floor and
You
going,
jumped up.
it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So that was one of the first books that I read that had a big influence on me, and I can definitely recommend that one. You spoke earlier, William, about to be successful in business. It's about developing good character. And another book that I read recently is called The Science of Being Great by Wallace Wattles. And that's what he talks about. It's just being kind and showing humility to everyone that you come into contact with. So that had a big impact on me as well. So these are two books that, just to begin with, I could easily recommend. Illusions by Richard Bach and The Science of Being Great by Wallace Wattles. What about you?
Yeah, great recommendations there, Alan. As I say, just there's more that a lot of more books that I could mention, but I think I'll just maybe make a wee point here about anybody that's listening to this. As you say, that just if you walk into a bookstore and you go to the self-help section or personal development section, whatever you want to call it, I think what I maybe have touched on this before, but I think a lot of people that I would like to change people's mindset of this cynical and judgmental thing when it comes to personal development, the people that wouldn't want to read that, because I think a lot of people are like this that I know anyway, that because they think if they read something or try to change themselves, it naturally makes them feel uncomfortable because there's something in their life they need to change. They know that they can do better with something, and people think, oh no, wait, oh no, that makes me feel uncomfortable, so they don't do it. So I think a point I'd like to make here is you've got to be open-minded. You've got to have like this sort of dynamic attitude to think, I, I need to just be different because I'm reaching out to people here that are struggling, that are not thinking the best way that they should be in a particular moment, whether it's whatever area in your life it is. If you're just not happy and you want to make a change to your life, that's it. But I think I would just say bury your head into some kind of book that's going to make a difference to your mindset or get you thinking differently. That's what I would say key here is, if I've mentioned book recommendations regarding sort of sports psychology, and I'm not making this about a mind store point, I'm making this about anything. Like Alan says, there'll be a book out there that's right for you. There'll be a YouTube clip that's right for you. If you don't feel like you're the sort of guy that would go and buy a book out the bookshop, you would rather just sit and listen to somebody like a motivational speaker, then do that. But keep listening. As I say, I go down rabbit holes of information and things. I just watch a clip on YouTube, I'll go into somebody else, I'll listen, I'll drive in the car. And what that's doing for me is, I say, it's reinforcing sort of thoughts into my mind. Oh, that's good. That's great. That's amazing. That's fantastic. And then all of a sudden, you're getting all this wealth of knowledge, and then that's helping you in your daily life. That's helping you be the best version of you. And that's what it's all about, Alan, isn't it?
Absolutely, William. I would say that's a really strong message that you're putting out there, and I would say a perfect way to end the episode this evening.
Great. No, listen, thanks everybody for listening. And as I say, we really enjoy this. I mean, enjoy producing the great content for the listeners. And as I say, we listen it back, and Alan's brilliant with the editing. So a big thanks to you, Alan, for all the work that you do that doesn't go unnoticed. And a big hello to all the friends and family out there. And we'll have episode 4 soon.
Excellent. Yeah, well, I'm going to mention a couple of good friends of mine that have sent me personal messages, which have meant a lot to me. So hi to Ros Miller and to Ruth McLeod. Thanks very much for the messages that you sent me last week. Most humbly appreciated. And also from my mum, sister, who also listen in regularly, which is great. So thank you to everyone else. And we'll be seeing you and speaking to you again soon.
Yeah, just quickly, I'll mention Danielle Cochran for the group, because Danielle sent me a lovely message saying that what we've done is fantastic.
Yep.
And a lot of friends and family. There's too many to name, so just a wee shout out for Danielle, because I know that she's been listening to them all. So fantastic, and thanks everybody for listening, and we'll produce the next episode soon. Thanks again.
Bye now. Oh.